So what would life be like if you drank every day? That's a question that's been on my mind. What would life be like if you drank every day? And I actually watched a movie on a plane recently called Another Round. And Another Round is about 4 high school teachers who consume alcohol on a daily basis to see how it affects their social and professional lives. And they keep a steady buzz throughout the day. And it's with Mads Mikkelsen. He's the star of it. He's the lead in Hannibal, which is a great TV series. Go check it out. But basically, this movie explores the topic of if you had alcohol in your system to a certain extent every single day, whether, basically a steady buzz, would that make you perform better? Would that make you a better teacher in this case? Would that make you a better, podcaster? Would that make you a better lawyer, accountant, whatever? And there's this one scene in there's this one scene in the movie where they're all getting fucked up, and this is a phase in the experiment where they're drinking hard. So for most of the movie, they've been teaching, they've been going into the school, they've been taking beers, shots throughout the day. They have a keychain breathalyzer on them, so they're staying between like 0.04, 0.08, trying to see what makes them genuinely a better teacher. And they're in this phase, they get to this phase in the movie where they say, okay, we have to push it to the limit. We have to black out and go beyond that. We have to just we have to go into the stratosphere. I said blacking out and almost just burped and threw up on the spot. It's bringing back past memories. But they want to shoot into the stratosphere, essentially, of alcohol consumption. And they start out drinking, they're drinking hard liquor in scotch glasses. And they make this concoction that is so fucking alcoholic. Literally, it's like a bloodbath of alcohol. 4 different types of liquor. They're chugging it. And they're blasting off. And at the same time, they're cranking music. They're cranking up music, and they keep putting it louder and louder and louder. And eventually they get to the point where they're fucking belligerently blackout drunk, and they've reached the top and beyond. And it made me think about something watching the scene. It made me, I don't think the correlation between drinking and music is an accident. And I've had experiences on all ends of the spectrum, from having 1 beer to having 15 more throughout an entire day drinking, being just absolutely fucking blacked out to kind of buzzed. And what this scene made me think about is drinking is like music. Drinking is music in a way. A little bit of music, when you turn up the volume slightly, is ambiance. It's in the background. You can study to music. You can edit a podcast with music in the background if you're doing the video. You do a lot. You walk with music, work out with music. You do a lot of things with music. It's when you turn it up a little bit, it's an ambiance. Same thing with having a buzz. You can function. You can do a lot of things. I've worked out. Not suggesting it, but I've worked out with a small buzz. 1, 2 drinks. It's an ambiance. When you turn up the music a little bit more, when it's at that steady level of, okay, this is coloring my consciousness to a point where it's no longer in the background, it gets you moving. Music gets you moving. Having 4, 5, 6 drinks in your system gets you moving, and in many situations enhances the experience for me. Some people don't like the feeling. I think being drunk up to a point enhances the experience. That's the goal. I used to drink to fucking black out in college, and now I drink when I do to enhance. I think about, am I having a good time right now? Okay, let's keep it here. Let's keep the enhancement going. Let's turn up the volume, but like let's not do it too much. And then if you turn up the music all the way, it's no longer enjoyable and it drowns everything out. Maybe you're moving, but you're moving to because you're freaking out because it's too loud. You're covering your ears. You're stamping on the ground. You're looking for the volume knob. You can't find it. You're trying to turn it down. Same thing with getting blackout, fucking belligerent drunk. It drowns everything out. It's no longer enhancing your life. It's no longer enhancing the situation. It's becoming a burden. It is rocking your brain and body and is making things worse and destroying you in the short term and the long term. And that's what I got from this movie. Again, it's called Another Round. And I really do feel like drinking is music, and that one of the best parts of becoming an adult is learning how to drink. And that there's actually an art to drinking, to being around people, to moderating your drinking based on certain situations, around certain groups of people, learning to be safe but have a good time and not get to that point where you fucking blast the volume knob like you did when you were 18, 19, 20 years old, to let it enhance you, to let it run through you but not overflow you. And I want to end off this episode with a quote from a wise man. And I actually heard this quote from Mark Normand, who I just had on the AUX podcast. Quick plug if you want to check it out. He's a New York comedian, one of the most hilarious guys on the planet. Mark Normand says, I love drinking, or this is a wise man said, but Mark Normand told me this. A wise man said, I love drinking so much that I don't do it every day. And fuck yeah, is that true? There's a lot of things, especially in the drug category, whether it's like booze or smoking weed, whatever it is. There's a lot of things that I love, so I don't do it every day. Addiction is the opposite of love. Addicts do things because they feel like they have to. It's not because they're enjoying it. There's some enjoyment out of it at the beginning. I'm not saying there's no good parts of drugs, but addiction, people don't do substances that are addicted to it because they love it. If they loved it, they wouldn't do it every day. They're doing it because they have the hooks synced into them by the substance that they can no longer remove. And it's a terrible sickness that I do not know the extent of, and hopefully I never will. And so I'm not an expert on that. I'm simply just saying that drinking is one of those things that I don't do it every day. I don't do it to the same level even when I am drinking because I love it, and I realize that drinking to a certain amount actually makes me hate it. And when people say I don't drink, there's a lot of spectrum in between total sobriety and alcoholism and full-blown alcoholism. And if you are able to explore that, I think it's a good thing to do, to find the balance of how something like alcohol affects you. And you can do this with drugs, you can do it with working out, you can do it with creativity, but learning to do things to a different extent and adjusting the volume knob is such a big part of life. It's such a big part of figuring out who you are as a human being. And that's also why I am in favor of most drugs, maybe not all drugs, but most drugs being legal. Because just because something like addiction exists and the risk of addiction exists, the overwhelming majority of people live in the middle of that spectrum. And I believe it's a human right to be able to explore that spectrum. And when things are legal, it seems like they will be safer because there's more regulation, there's more testing. You don't have to buy shit from a guy out of his trench coat pocket on the street corner. Be like buying whey protein out of the trunk of a car. Like, no, you want to feel like you're buying something legitimate. And that's a whole another conversation for another podcast.